Hi, everyone. My name is Albert, one of the co-founders at VectorShift. Today, I'm going to make a quick demo about a use case that a few different customers have mentioned, which is how can I build a scraper that automatically scrapes a website, in this case for prices, every given amount of time, say every single day, right? So this tactical example actually came in from a client. They were gracious enough to actually let me use their data in this demo because I thought it would be a good use case for everyone here. This is actually a Japanese client, but you don't actually need to know the details of how to read Japanese. But what they're trying to scrape is because these prices of these products actually change very often, right? This is some sort of hardware, and it changes every day. And these quantities, right? If you buy between 1 and 9, it would be 157.3 yen. Between 10 and 49, it would be this price. There's a lot of this kind of stuff where the prices change, the quantities also affect the price, and they want to be able to encapsulate a whole list of these products and what the prices are. All right, let's go ahead into VectorShift and actually show you, how to build this. So first of all, what the final output would be, right? Let's just talk about the output. Is we're going to have like a list of URLs, and we want to scrape them every day and populate a Google Sheet of all the data. But let's go ahead and get the pipeline running just with a single URL. So let's go ahead and drag out an input node. Input node is data coming into the pipeline, say the URL. We're going to go ahead and scrape that URL by passing this input to this URL loader. And you can do kind of an extract data node to extract information. But because this data is tabular, right, because it's, we want, column A, we want the name of the item, column B, the quantity, and column C, the price. We actually have this new node called extract the table within Google Sheets that can use to extract tabular data. If it's just a singular data cell, you could use the LM node and just write it to Google Sheets, or use the extract data node to just extract that piece of information and then dump into Google Sheets. Let's go ahead and use the extract table node. And the text for extraction is the data coming out of this Google Sheet. And I actually wrote kind of a prompt within this additional context. Basically, I wrote that your job is to extract data into a table with 3 columns: name, item, quantity, and price. And I actually looked into the HTML. This is actually how the HTML is structured, to give it an example. And then in this case, right, the quantity is, if it's between 1 and 19, it would be 118.97 yen. Let's go ahead and pick a file and find the file, items for scraping, view folder, and we want to dump the scrape data into sheet 1. Let's go ahead and click sheet 1 and confirm selection. All right, let's go ahead and run this pipeline just for a singular URL. It's going to take about 20-30 seconds to scrape, and I'll speed up the video. There we go. So we had the URL scraped and we extracted to the table. Let's see how it looks. So this understands that we need to extract the tabular piece of data, right? 1 for 9, 157.7, right? We got the same item name, 10 to 49, 153.1, right? Seems like the data matches well, right? Let's go ahead and go towards step 2. So imagine we have like a list of URLs, and we want to be able to run this pipeline on every single one of these URLs. All right, so let's go ahead and pull out a Google Sheet read from sheet action, right? We want to read from this Google Sheet. So let's go ahead and pick the file. I'm just scraping again. In this case, we want to read from the list of URLs. And now we want to turn on list mode, right? So what list mode is it runs the same operation on every item in the list. So let's go ahead and turn on list mode, and we want the URLs. Now, we want to also run this on list mode, right? So this is going to produce a list of scrape content, right, from the list of URLs. And then we want to take all the scrape content, extract the table on each of them, and then put them into this sheet, right? We go ahead and clear this really quickly. So what we need to do, right, is we actually need to use the duplicate node, because we also need to pass this context in as a list, right? So we need to take this, and then we need to duplicate this the same amount of time as there are URLs. So we're going to duplicate this piece of text, And we're going to match this to the number of items in the Google Sheet. And then we're going to turn on this mode. And the text for extraction is going to be coming from the URL loader and the content, right? This is a list of the content. And then the additional context is coming from this duplicate list. Now let's go ahead and run this pipeline. Now what it's doing, you can just open up this trace viewer to see what's going on. Is you can see this Google Sheet has finished running. It's grabbed the 3 URLs from the list of URL spreadsheet, and we're applying this URL loader onto each item in that list, right? So we're scraping. You can see we've spun up 3 URL loaders. One of them is finished. The other 2 are still going. And we've taken this piece of text, which is just essentially the prompt for the extract to the table, and we've duplicated that item 3 times, right? And we've passed a list of that prompt, the same prompt 3 times. And getting ready to actually pass that to this extract to table node. We're actually just still wrapping up the URL loader on the other 2. And as soon as those were finished, we're going to start running the Google Sheet. Looks like it just finished, and we're doing the extract to table. Looks like that finished, and there we go. So everything is there. So the final thing that I'll walk through is actually how to run this pipeline on a day-to-day basis. So whenever you want a workflow to run repeatedly at the same time, you want to use a cron job. So you can go to triggers and click cron. So let's just say you want to get these daily prices updated in the Google Sheet every single day. So let's click daily, and you can select, I'm based in Eastern time. You can select the time that you want this to be updated. Let's just say 7 a.m., right? And you can notice that you can't actually connect this to the Google Sheet because there's no inputs on the Google Sheet node, right? To read from a sheet, it doesn't actually need any data. But we have this advanced functionality called dependencies, which we can force this node to be dependent on this cron job. So let's just go ahead and select that node. And let's just say upon the complete of the cron job, we want to trigger it to happen. Let's just review the rest of the pipeline. Once it's triggered, it's going to get all the URLs from the second sheet. We're going to scrape each of them, and we're going to have an extract data node that receives a prompt duplicated X number of times as a number of URLs, and then we're going to apply this extract table node on each item in the URL. Hopefully this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.